Alright, in this video what I'm doing is I'm adjusting tow. I changed my control arms about a year ago, and what I found is that my tires, the tire wear on my tires was showing like a feathering pattern, which indicated that the way that the feathering was occurring indicated to me that the new control arms resulted in excessive tow out. So what I'm doing is I'm adjusting my tow so that it's more in. Now I've already adjusted the left side of the vehicle. Right now this is the right side of the vehicle. Let's see if you can see that's the front lens on the right hand side. And over the last couple of months I've adjusted the left toe in a total of 1.5 turns. And I started on the left side because of the way that the steering wheel was facing when I was driving straight down the road. It was cocked slightly to the right. So to correct for that, I did my initial adjustments on the left toe. My first adjustment was a complete turn to tow in by one complete turn on the left hand side. And then I went ahead and did another half turn a couple of months later because the feathering had subsided quite a bit, but it was still existing. In other words, I was still getting the feathering. So I went ahead and did another half turn on the left side, and now I'm going to turn the right side to tow it in by another half turn, which means altogether I will have done a total of 2 full turns between the two sides. In other words, the left side will have gone in by 1.5 turns. This side will be going in by a half turn. Which means if I didn't care about how the steering wheel was positioned as I drive straight down the road, it would be the equivalent of turning both sides in each by 1 turn. But because I do care about how the steering wheel turns, I did 1.5 on the left, and now I'm about to do a half on the right. So here's the process. And before I took my wheel off, my right front wheel, I went ahead and I did my checks for play. In other words, I wiggled in this direction to see if there was any play, and I wiggled in this direction to see if there was any play, and there was not. So I know that the control arms are still functioning well. Actually, it was the ball joint on the control arm was why I needed to replace the control arms anyhow. And it was economically sound for me to go ahead and do the whole control arm rather than just a ball joint. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. I'm going to first release this boot, the little clamp on that boot. I'm going to make sure that the boot can turn. Okay, so this little rod in here is going to be able to turn freely without spinning the boot. And I had to release this clamp in order for that to happen. Now I can go ahead and use wrenches to loosen this nut. Oh, I should say I put this white mark. This white mark is extremely important. The white mark allows you to know, that's actually the whole reason why I'm making this video, is I thought as long as I've got that white mark right there, that's what enables me to count how far of an adjustment I'm making. In other words, if I turn this adjuster an entire turn, the white mark will be right back in the same position again. I'm only going to turn it half a turn, so since this has 6 faces on it, when I've turned this 3 faces, I know that I'll know that I'm done with the adjustment, and then I can go ahead and retighten this, tighten this lock nut. But I'll also put a black mark. I'll use a magic marker on the face that's 3 faces away from this one. Again, there's 6 faces, so half a turn would be 3 faces. I think it'll make more sense as I'm actually doing it. So I'm going to back the camera out a little ways, scoop myself in. Okay. $11mm. So now I've turned it almost 1 face. That's 1 full face. That's the 2nd face. And now we're at the 3rd face. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll get a black marker so I can mark that 3rd face as being 180 degrees opposite the face that has the white crayon on it. I'm going to hit pause right now while I go up to get my black marker, or my purple marker. I think it'll be purple. Okay, I'm back. I do have a purple marker. So I'm going to go ahead and mark. Let's see if I can zoom in on what I'm doing. So you can see there's a, well, I think it's fairly clear what I'm doing here is I'm marking the top face. With a dark purple marker, so that the next time I come to do a minor adjustment, I'll know that if this purple is marked up with that white, that I'm a half a turn away from the white matching up with the white. Okay. So now I'm going to need to hold the 11. Let's zoom back out. I'm going to need to hold the 11, or I'm going to need to hold this adjuster so it doesn't turn while I tighten the lock nut. Okay, now I can go ahead and tighten these two relative to one another. Go ahead and put this little clamp back in place. Huh. I would expect that clamp to open up more, or to close more, I mean. And I don't know why it's not. Might not have it positioned properly. Feels good. All right, and that's it. That's the adjustment. Now the reason, I think that's all I'm going to do for this. Make sure we have good, range of motion. I'd expect to have more range of motion. Alright, I'm going to have to loosen it up again. Let's make sure we have plenty of range of motion here. Oh, this doesn't have a whole lot. Okay. And how about over here? Well, that's not going to lock against anything. Yeah, forget about that range of motion stuff. In this particular case, it's not an issue. And I should have been able to, dang it. Okay. Gotta free this up again. That should end up in a good spot. Okay, that's good. Still has the same range of motion as before. So now all I should have to do is put that clamp back in place. And that should be good. Even though I don't think the range of motion in this can be affected by what I'm doing, I still want to make positive that it's got some motion to it, some range. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and put the tire back on, and that's it for adjusting this toe.